I'm very excited to be here. There's been a workshop which has been taking place on the conservation of Keep It Modern project. This workshop has been very important for us on the way for preparing a guideline, especially for how can we ensure that this building will be sustainable and be useful in future.
It's 63 years since the museum was built, and so I think it's about time that we as professionals, we as museum people, architects, start thinking about what we can do to improve what is there, what was done, and make it better for posterity without necessarily changing the fabric of the building and the thought that went into it. So I'm very happy to be here with all the professionals who are here to talk about that same thing and put our minds together and see what we can come up with for the museum.
This project, after having the conservation management plan, will inform the administration of the museum on the best practice of not only conserving the building, but also the important collections that we hold.
This museum was built at a different time and in a different context, and of course, over time, a lot has changed. And so in thinking about the future of the museum, we need to think about how the city has grown, the users that want to interact with the museum, how they are thinking about things differently. And one thing that we would like to take into consideration is how to make the museum more accessible to the public.
I think it's important that we build appreciation for modern architecture and we work towards preserving the original design intent of the architect. And in order to do that, we must understand the values, underlying values, and the issues, as well as the physical problems of the building. So we're working with the young students and young professionals to look at the values of the building, look at the problems, and try and resolve the issues, but still preserve the authenticity and integrity.
Conservation and heritage issues are a relatively new concept in education. So it is fantastic to draw in students and to go around with them and look at the building and check the building, draw them into the practice of this kind of work.
The tour around the workshop, very informing, and I found various things that had to be corrected, including the roof, and I felt that it was very important for me to discover this.
I'm learning a lot on how to add on to something that's existing, how to deal with something that's already existing, and how to deal with the authenticity and the integrity of monumental buildings. And so far from the tour yesterday around the museum, I realized that so many changes have been made, so many things have been added onto the building, and I feel that there should be more order with how this is done.
The climate has really changed, especially, I think it's throughout the country. So this drastic change is having great impact on the buildings, on the artifacts we have in the museum. And I think with this workshop, we can come up with a conservation management plan and have informed decision making that can help us preserve both the building and the artifacts in the museum.
My role in this project is to advise the project team members on the aspects of objects conservation and preservation, with a special focus on the indoor climate. So we will set up a set of sensors to measure the relative humidity and temperature in order to establish the risks for the collection in the coming time, and from those data try to establish ways to reduce the risks and to reduce the impact on collections.
I like the approach that the Uganda Museum took to put the workshop together, because there is representation from across the sector. They did come and bring together a lot of stakeholders who will be important to coming up with this conservation plan.
Looking into the future, the museum needs to think of ways to become more interactive with the public, to come up with programs and initiatives that draw people in and allow them to be more part of how the museum is moving forward into the future.
I think that the museum, and it's also something that has been considered in the past, look at the museum as a cultural center.
Unless you know your past, you will not know the future. If you lose this building, the past is lost. That's why we need a conservation management plan for this building. And this workshop has been about brainstorming, deliberating, and making guidelines for this building to ensure that it survives in the future.